Executive functioning, task initiation. Task initiation is the ability to size up and independently begin tasks. In this video, you'll learn about the key components of task initiation and practical examples related to school. Not initiating is frequently misunderstood as simply procrastinating. However, it goes deeper than that. When our inner thoughts tell us a task might make us feel overwhelmed, experience struggle, or even failure, our brains make a quick decision to avoid it. Here is an example. A friend asks you for help cleaning out an old rental property. When she says you just need to throw out the trash, organize what's left, and clean a bit, you agree. But when you walk into the house, this is what you see. Your first reaction is an emotional one that says, I am overwhelmed. I don't even know how to begin. I'm out of here. Before we look at strategies to improve initiation, it's important to understand why some students have difficulty sizing up a task and starting independently. It starts with identifying the root cause and problem solving to move forward. When broken down, we see two main areas that can be interrelated: executive functioning skills and anxiety. Executive functioning skills. As you remember from the previous modules, executive functions are rooted in nonverbal working memory, or the mental movie screen, as we called it in the planning module. Once a task is pictured on that mental movie screen, it can be moved into verbal working memory, which includes the inner dialogue and actual words. An example of this is a list of written directions for creating a model of an element. It can feel overwhelming because the task is starting with verbal working memory rather than nonverbal. When the student is able to activate their nonverbal working memory to picture what the model will look like and the steps involved, then he can move to verbal working memory and self-talk to plan what needs to be done. Now, the student has sized up the task and is less likely to feel overwhelmed. Anxiety. It's important to know that when a student processes a task, the information travels through several areas of the brain, ending up in the prefrontal cortex, where executive functions and planning take place. When anxiety or inaccurate thinking are present, the information being processed gets stuck in a portion of the brain responsible for emotions and the fight, flight, freeze response. As anxiety increases, the frontal lobe disengages, weakening executive function skills, and allows emotional or inaccurate thinking to take over. This can lead to disengagement, feeling frozen, or task avoidance. From a cognitive behavior perspective, we know that thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are connected. Inaccurate thoughts can start as small as, this is a long assignment. This looks really hard. I don't even think I've ever seen this before. They can also come from a student's previous behaviors or self-concept, like, I've always been bad at math. I'm not a reader, or I always fail projects like this. It's important to reframe inaccurate thoughts and reduce anxiety to re-engage that frontal lobe before moving forward with the original task. Strategies. Now that we understand why many students have difficulty initiating, we can look at strategies for improving task initiation. When-then statements are like setting little internal alarms so you know when to get to work. By creating rules that are connected to other actions, the brain sends little reminders that it's time to act. When I don't understand a math problem, then I will look back at my notes. When I think I'm not a good writer, then I will remember how proud I felt after publishing my personal narrative. These statements are helpful for students who have emotional reactions to certain subjects. When emotions are high, working memory slows down, and the student is less likely to remember that she can refer to her math notes for help. If-then statements are like pre-commitments to prepare for roadblocks that may pop up. Ask the student to think about things that cause distractions, resulting in procrastination or task avoidance. Video games, phone, feeling tired. If I'm feeling tired, then I will work at the kitchen table instead of my bedroom. While not a fail-safe strategy, preparing if-then statements in advance makes students more likely to remember them in the moment. They also provide a neutral format for parents to provide reminders. Eat the frog. This strategy comes from an old quote stating, "Eat a live frog first thing every morning and nothing worse will happen to you the rest of the day." The frog is the task that is the most important, most difficult, or maybe most avoided. The strategy is effective for students who don't have consistent issues with initiation but tend to put off a particular type of task. It's also effective in creating behavioral momentum because after completing the frog task, the subsequent assignments feel easier. The strategy can be fun for families to take turns sharing, providing a model that even adults dread certain tasks. Get started. Often, students are able to build up momentum by starting with tools or tasks that they perceive as easier. By starting with easier tasks that they're more likely to attempt, students gain confidence and some of those inaccurate thoughts can be reframed. Common strategies include starting with the easy items and going back to the hard ones later, or agreeing to work for a certain amount of time before pausing. Using a whiteboard instead of paper can make mistakes feel less threatening than paper and pencil. This strategy can be especially helpful for our younger learners. Using a cover sheet or folding a paper to reduce the work that's visible can help students who get overwhelmed by the length of assignments. The I do, we do, you do strategy involves a gradual release of support. By completing a sample math problem for the student, then doing the second problem together, and finally watching and being able for support during the third problem, we're able to pull back once the student gets going. Even changing the font type and size can make a difference for some students. The Diary of a Wimpy Kid books are a perfect example of font type and size feeling more accessible to kids. Ready, do, done. In the planning module, we talked about Sarah Ward's Get Ready, Do, Done model. This strategy involves beginning with the end in mind and working backward to plan for task completion. We plan backward in order to execute forward, or make a plan, then work the plan. When this strategy is used to plan work, it can then be used to help students initiate the work. By beginning with the visual of the end product, that nonverbal working memory has been activated. Students who become overwhelmed by inaccurate thoughts about the length of assignment or the perceived difficulty level are able to see the task broken down into manageable steps. 2 low-tech options include construction paper mats and construction paper glued to 2 manila folders to create a trifold mat. A benefit of these mats is students can use sticky notes or their actual materials on top of the mats. Higher level thinking. Task initiation is often an under-supported skill that can lead to frustration for both students and parents. When difficulty initiating becomes a consistent issue, it's important to be proactive and intentional about our support. For students who have trouble initiating, we want to do more than simply say, start your work, but not so much that we end up doing the executive functioning work ourselves by saying things like, take out your pencil and notebook, open to page 47, multiply the numbers. As busy adults, we have a tendency to pre-identify needs and jump in to support without the child fully communicating their needs. When we see that the child is stuck on number 5 and jump right in to identify where they've gone wrong and how to fix it, we've done the thinking for them. Instead, we can try, what do you need help with? Oh, you're stuck on number 5? Why do you think you're stuck on it? These higher level thinking questions help engage that frontal lobe and encourage the student to problem solve. By very intentionally using just a few minutes to support initiation, we can create behavioral momentum, which will save both time and frustration later in the work. This is where the Get Ready, Do, Done strategy can help. Beginning with the end in mind ensures the task is visualized, then verbally broken down. Having a clear picture of the task can help students overcome the inaccurate thoughts that may cause them to feel overwhelmed and prevent them from getting started. Self-advocacy skills. Helping students learn to identify and express how they feel and what they need can eventually lead to improved initiation. Rather than stating, "I need help," we want students to learn to say, "I'm frustrated because I'm stuck on number 4 and I don't know what to do next." Not fully understanding the directions is a common roadblock for students. They may be thinking, "Great, I don't even understand the directions. I'm already terrible at this." When we normalize the need for clarification or support, we can move students toward language such as, "I read the directions, but it's still not making sense. Can you explain it a different way?" Parents can use this language in everyday life and model self-advocacy skills. Visual prompts. Outside of academic work, every family has experienced a time when a child is asked to do a chore or get ready to go somewhere, and while the child doesn't appear to be defiant, he simply doesn't initiate. Using what we know about starting with nonverbal working memory, we can provide visual prompts that make it more likely for the child to initiate. The key here is to use authentic images so the process begins with nonverbal working memory. Initiation is the ability to independently start tasks. The key to supporting it is to identify, understand, and support the underlying reasons for the student's lack of initiation.